The self in society. The self is not created in isolation. Our beliefs are determined by our observations of and interactions with others. The self has meaning only within the social context, and it is not wrong to say that the social situation defines our self-concept and our self-esteem. We rely on others to provide a social reality, to help us determine what to think, feel and do. What is the social self? A significant portion of our self and its behavior is socially directed and influenced. The Psychology Dictionary defines social self as the self we show to other people. The social or societal self can include ethnicity, gender, age, place of residence or any other social categorization that help characterize a person's identity. What forms the social influences take on our sense of self? Here there are the answers to this question. Our sense of self is influenced by others' views of us. Our sense of self is influenced by comparisons with others. Upward and downward comparisons influence our self-esteem. Our sense of self is influenced by the groups we belong to. Our sense of self is influenced by the audiences we have. We will explain these social influences on our sense of self. The looking glass self. Our sense of self is influenced by others' views of us. The looking glass self, or how we understand ourselves through the perception of how others see us, has three elements, how we imagine we appear to others, the judgment we imagine that the other people may be making about us, our self-image based upon the evaluation of the others. Social comparison theory. Our sense of self is influenced by comparisons with others. Self-concept and self-esteem are heavily influenced by the process of social comparison. Social comparison occurs primarily on dimensions on which there are no correct answers or objective benchmarks, and thus on which we can rely only on the beliefs of others for information. Thus, we use social comparison in part to develop our self-concept, that is, to form accurate conclusions about our attitudes, abilities and opinions. Upward and downward comparisons influence our self-esteem. Social comparison has an even bigger impact on our self-esteem than on our self-concept. When we are able to compare ourselves favorably with others, we feel good about ourselves, but when the outcome of comparison suggests that others are better or better off than we are, then our self-esteem is likely to suffer. Downward social comparison occurs when we attempt to create a positive image of ourselves through favorable comparisons with others who are worse off than we are. It provides positive feelings. Upward social comparison occurs when we compare ourselves with others who are better off than we are, and it lowers our self-esteem. Social identity theory. Our sense of self is influenced by the groups we belong to. Social identity theory asserts that we draw part of our sense of identity and self-esteem from the social groups that we belong to. Normally, group memberships result in positive feelings, which occur because we perceive our own groups and thus ourselves in a positive light. Your membership in the group becomes part of what you are, and the membership often makes you feel good about yourself. Self-presentation. Our sense of self is influenced by the audiences we have. Positive self-esteem occurs not only when we do well in our own eyes, but also when we feel that we are positively perceived by the other people we care about. The tendency to present a positive self-image to others, with the goal of increasing our social status, is known as self-presentation, and it is a basic and natural part of everyday life. Analyze social comparisons that you have made. Analyze certain situations when you have engaged in downward and upward social comparison. What were the effects these comparisons have had on your self-esteem? Remember, the social forces that surround you heavily influence the social aspects of yourself. There is remarkable extent to which yourself is created by the social situation in which you find yourself. Your social self is an important factor for your decisions regarding career,